Hey everybody, welcome to Gary Talks. Well, it's the end of 2024, and as always, I dedicate my last few episodes of the year to my annual top 10 lists. I'll go over my top 10 TV shows, albums, and movies, and this week, I'll be looking at my top 10 favorite TV shows of 2024. And I've got some very special guests lined up. From the new Star Wars skeleton crew, Ravi Cabot-Conyers and Ryan Kiera Armstrong. But we'll get to them in just a bit. You know, 2024 was a pretty good year for television. I remember in 2023 I had to struggle to fill out the top 10, but this year there were quite a few shows I really liked that did make the list. So what did? Well, we'll start with the only reality TV show that made my top 10. Coming in at number 10, The Traitors UK. While I'm a fan of the US version of The Traitors, which features an all-reality TV cast, there is something that is just more entertaining about real people who are there for money and not their brand. And this year, on Traitors UK, we were introduced to the best player to ever play the game, Harry. Watching him completely run the game is pure entertainment, and there are so many twists and turns along the way, there was never a dull episode. If you enjoy the US version of the show, be sure to check out Season 2 of The Traitors UK on Peacock. It was the best reality TV show of the year. Next up at number 9, Interview with the Vampire. I wasn't a huge fan of Season 1 of Interview with the Vampire. I liked the actors, but the story just felt kind of bland, and I was kind of bored by the reveal of Armand, so I wasn't really expecting a lot from Season 2. And it covers the part of the book I like least where Lestat wasn't around. But somehow, this season was fantastic. Armand really grew on me, and the entire theater troupe was much better than in the movie. The story was changed a lot from the novel, and it left me super excited to see where Season 3, which will cover the Vampire Lestat book, goes. Coming in at number 8 is a TV show that I swear every single time my wife walks in the room, she looks at the TV, looks at me, and says, "What the hell are you watching?" The Boys. A lot of fans have turned on The Boys lately, and I'm not sure why. It's always been a metaphor for many things, and now that it's turned onto the cult of politics, some people just don't like it. And yeah, it's not as strong as other seasons, but it's still one of the more entertaining shows on TV. I really wasn't a fan of Butcher's storyline this season, and the great Jeffrey Dean Morgan was certainly wasted. But, as long as we have Anthony Starr's Homelander on our screens, The Boys will consistently be in my top 10 shows of the year. Coming in at number 7, House of the Dragon. Some of the shows on my list had a better Season 2 than Season 1, but that's not really the case with House of the Dragon. We had too much time wasted as characters were put into place for what should be a really big third season. So then, how does it still make my top 10? Because I really do love the characters, and I still enjoy watching them move into place for what's to come. That being said, if Season 3 is another season where we don't get the huge battles we're promised, then I'll begin to lose faith in the show. Next up, coming in at number 6, Fallout. I've never played Fallout, so I wasn't sure what to expect, but I knew it had Walton Goggins in it, so I knew that I'd watch. I was completely blown away by how much fun the show was, and the production design was simply amazing. Plus, when I was able to meet the cast at this year's Emmy Awards, they were all super cool to talk to about the show, and they seemed to love it just as much as I did, and that goes a long way. Before we get to my top 5, I do have to say that there are quite a few shows that either haven't aired yet, or if they have, not really enough episodes to judge the show. This includes some shows like Dune Prophecy, Season 2 of Squid Game, the new Dexter prequel, and Star Wars Skeleton Crew. Now, I have seen the first few episodes of Skeleton Crew, and while it started off slow and I didn't really care for it, by the second and third episodes it really grew on me, and I'm all in. And I recently had a chance to talk to two of the stars of that show, Ravi Cabot-Conyers and Ryan Kiera Armstrong. Take a look. Thank you guys so much for being on the show.
Hi,
Hey, nice to see you.
First off, as a lifelong Star Wars fan myself, I just gotta know, how cool is it to be part of the Star Wars universe?
It's so
cool.
it's kind of weird. I've always been a huge Star Wars fan. I grew up in quite the Star Wars household. My dad has been watching Star Wars for as long as he can remember, and he introduced me to A New Hope when I was about 5. So it's definitely been a big part of my life. And now that I'm in the universe carrying on the legacy, it's a little bit weird, and it really hit me when I saw the poster for the first time.
Really
That was a little bit weird.
My dad also has been a fan his entire life, so he kind of like passed on to me, and it's something we bonded over. And so I remember like the first day on set, he was just so excited, like seeing all the props and the sets, and it was such a cool experience to share together.
Well, then, first of all, yay for dads.
Yeah, I know.
So, Ryan, what can you tell me about your character, Fern?
Fern is kind of a tomboy, and she's forced to take this leadership role of the group, this kind of commander. You know, as every teenager, you know, she's kind of figuring her relationship to the world in this kind of awkward stage in her life. And then that's when she's launched into this exciting adventure.
Well, then, Ravi, I definitely get big Luke Skywalker vibes from your character. Was that something you were going for?
Definitely. I looking back, especially since this was 2 years ago, it was a long time ago. So looking back, I see a lot of similarities between, now having seen the first 3 episodes, also I see a lot of similarities between Wim and Luke. I feel like what's fun is that each character kind of represents a different archetype and a different, Star Wars character kind of represents it a little bit. So that's definitely fun. And yeah, I did have a lot of fun playing. What actually drew me into Star Wars was Luke Skywalker. So being able to play a little bit of Mark Hamill's iconic performance into my character Wim was a lot of fun and felt very right.
So, Ryan, does that make you the Han Solo of the group?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I've been saying. Definitely. He's been like a key reference point. Like the first time I put on her clothes, I was like, okay, it's really giving Han Solo vibes. So even just like watching his performance and just kind of incorporating little things into mine, it's been like kind of like a little Easter egg for some fans.
I gotta say, Jude Law has always been one of my favorite actors. He always seems to do a great job, but what was it like working with him?
It really is. It's a dream and an honor to work with someone so experienced. He's so phenomenal on camera, off camera. He's such a nice person, and he always arrives ready on set. He's constantly, his initial choices are always on point. He's a phenomenal actor, definitely a legend I've looked up to. I've seen so much of his prior work, and I love the relationship between Wim and Jod too. It's like Wim kind of wants to trust him because he's the adult and they want to get home, but at the same time, you don't know if you can trust him, and also he appears to be a Jedi, which is really exciting. And yeah, I loved playing alongside someone so experienced, acting off of them.
He's a true professional, like always like the first to set, and he's just such a present person. It's really inspirational.
You guys have both done quite a few different sorts of projects in your young careers, but how does Star Wars compare to those? Was this more difficult?
I wouldn't say it was difficult as opposed to previous things I've done, but it was different definitely because, I'd never worked on the volume before, something as wide scale and as collaborative as this. Of course, all film sets have to be collaborative to get things done, and there has to be some form of communication. But this was definitely it was a huge set. There were so many crew members. Things were constantly going on, constantly moving. Even when we weren't, shooting, things were being moved and put into place. Yeah. But it was different. It was definitely different, but it was very fun and new.
Long hours. It's very definitely demanding.
Yeah.
But I will say one thing, I don't think it was a challenge rather than it was just kind of cool to experiment with, was just working with the puppets and the puppeteers. And, you would kind of have conversations with them. Like, so when I move this way, the puppet's going to go this way. And it reacts off of you. Like all of the creatures are real and they have real reactions and expressions. And they're all remote controlled, which even took control of the remote sometimes. But it was really cool to work with that.
And finally, I know that Star Wars is one of those places where they're very tight on spoilers, and there's probably somebody right now standing off camera with a lightsaber pointed at you guys, making sure you don't spill any secrets. But what can you tell us about the final few episodes of Skeleton Crew?
Action-packed.
Definitely.
It's exciting.
Definitely.
What else can we say?
Yeah, I don't know. Oh gosh. There's a lot more character arcs. You find out a little bit more about the characters.
Lots of growth.
Definitely.
And bonding.
Throughout the whole show, which is a lot of fun. Yeah.
Bonding between everyone. Yeah.
Well, I know I can't wait to see how it ends. Thank you guys so much for being on Gary Talks.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And now back to my top 5. Coming in at number 5, The Lord of the Rings of Power. Season 1 of Rings of Power got a lot of hate, and while there were some aspects that annoyed me, I really loved the character that was later revealed to be Sauron, and that first season ended perfectly. So when they doubled down on Sauron, making him the main character of Season 2, and told the story of the creation of the Rings of Power, I was in. I didn't think the finale of Season 2 was as great as others did, but it was still a super enjoyable season, and I'm anxious to see what comes next. Number 4 is a show that only 2/3 of the final season has aired, and we have to wait till next year to see how it ends. Cobra Kai. I'm not a fan of how the final season has been split into 3 mini-seasons, but it is what it is. I can't hold that against the most enjoyable show on TV. While coming into this final season, I felt the show was starting to get stale. The introduction of the Sakai Takai tournament added a new layer of fun. I have to be honest that I don't give a damn about the Mr. Miyagi mystery, but anytime we have Johnny, Kreese, Silver, and especially Chozen on my screen, I'm a happy camper. I'm super excited to see how the show ends next year. Number 3 is the Emmy winner for Best Limited Series, Baby Reindeer. It seems that every few months there is some TV show I've never heard of that suddenly blows up the internet, and more often than not, it's a show on Netflix. Now, I don't know if it's because so many people have Netflix, or Netflix has really good PR, or what, but most of the time when I check that show out, it's horrible. And to be honest, it was about halfway through the show before I decided if I even liked it or not. But boy, did that show finish strong. It certainly was the best limited series of the year. Next up at number 2 is the Emmy winner for Best Drama Series, Shogun. Earlier in the year when I picked my Emmy winners, I said Shogun was the best drama on TV, and it was until this fall, but I'll get to that in a minute. Shogun took James Clavell's epic novel and turned it into a visually stunning and emotionally gripping series. The show excels in its rich storytelling, blending historical intrigue, cultural clashes, and personal drama with precision. The production design, cinematography, and attention to period detail create an immersive experience, transporting viewers to feudal Japan. Shogun stands out as a cinematic achievement worthy of the highest recognition. And now for my favorite TV show of 2024, The Penguin. I didn't expect a lot from the Penguin. As a matter of fact, he was the weakest part of Matt Reeves' Batman film, and I thought this show was probably going to suck. But damn was I wrong. It became the superhero version of The Sopranos, and Colin Farrell gave one of the greatest performances of all time. And for anyone who thinks it was all in the makeup and fat suit, look for one of the videos of him in costume talking as himself, and you'll see just how much acting really brought Oz to life. My only complaint throughout the show was how are they going to make us cheer for Batman over the Penguin, as he was such a deep and interesting character. But all we had to do was wait for the finale, which had one of the most shocking moments of the year. Penguin truly was my favorite show of 2024. What were your favorite TV shows of 2024? Be sure and go to GaryTalks.tv. Let me know what you thought of my list and what your own lists are. Next week, we'll be back with my top 10 favorite albums of the year. We'll see you then.
From capes to tapes, Gary's on the case. He's breaking down each scene, every place. On Gary Talks, he's quick with his peculiar wits. From plot twists to the comic strips, Gary's flipping sick.